it is time to tell you the reason we go to such effort to make this most amazing bread. Why do we go to such effort for sourdough?
Yeah, and part of this, we want you guys to just yell it from the rooftops that everyone needs sourdough in their lives. And we're going to give you guys some basic ideas of why it will change your family's health, your health. It's so important that we learn to go back. This is nothing new. This is like what our great grandparents did. So they're totally high-fiving you up in heaven right now that you're learning these skills, and it's going to really help your health.
Right. So the first thing you need to know is something about phytic acid. Phytic acid is something that is on all legumes and grains, and what protects, it's like the armor on the grain. But the dilemma is that the phytic acid stays around that grain even when you grind it up and make flour. And it's kind of an anti-nutrient. Your body has a hard time digesting it. That's why that came out of King Tut's tomb actually sprouted, because it had such a great armor. So what happens in your body when you eat it, when it hasn't been soured? It's hard to digest. But souring a grain, especially wheat, gets rid of over 90% of the phytic acid, which is really great.
Yeah, it just makes it so bioavailable for all of the amazing nutrients and minerals that are inside of wheat. Wheat has gotten a really bad rap in the past few years. Everyone's trying to go keto or trying to go no wheat. Carbs are like the bad guy. But wheat is actually like a wonder food. Wheat has so many different things. People have been able to live off wheat.
Right. And so the wheat has three parts. It has the bran, the germ, and the starch. And so the bran and the germ are where almost all the nutrition is. And so what we love is when you can eat wheat flour, do it. Because in that there's the phosphorus and the selenium and the vitamin E and the vitamin B and the iron, and it's just loaded in incredible nutrients that our bodies need. So that's why it's so good.
Yeah. So it gets rid of that phytic acid and makes all those things bioavailable. So commercial yeast also, so sourdough makes it so you can avoid commercial yeast, and commercial yeast is just known to cause havoc in our body. It makes us have fatigue, cravings, bloating, irritable bowel syndrome. So what happens is, with commercial yeast, you put it in your bread and then you think, okay, as soon as I put it in the oven, all that yeast is going to die and then I'll just be able to enjoy that fluffy bread. But unfortunately, it's not quite true, because as you put it in the oven, as it heats up, it sends out little spore babies. And so when you're eating bread that has commercial yeast, it's full of spores. And those spores go and they like to hang out in your digestive area, and they cause a lot of problems. So that's another thing that sourdough is good for, because you don't have commercial yeast. You have natural yeast.
Exactly. And conversely, the opposite is true with sourdough. It has those wonderful bacteria that actually are what makes our colons work and so effectively. All those probiotics that our bodies need, that is what sourdough is. So when you bake your sourdough, you think, well, we're going to kill it anyway. Because all bacteria put off spores in cases of high heat. So those spores actually live on within you and do good for your body.
Yeah, did you know that a pregnant woman can eat like one slice of whole wheat sourdough bread, and that's their daily need of folic acid?
Isn't that crazy?
They don't have to take a supplement or anything. It just happens through that fermentation process. So that's amazing that we can have that through our bread.
Right. So the next thing that happens is the vitamin B. Let's just have a little conversation about vitamin B. Wheat is loaded in vitamin B, but when you add the sourdough, the bacteria actually eats the wheat and it releases vitamin B. That's what the bacteria does, releases it in your bread. What is vitamin B known for? Brain health. So all of the things that we've seen with people struggling with brain issues, from Alzheimer's to emotional anxieties, let's just have our bread with a little bit of avocado and give ourselves a brain supplement.
Yeah, you don't even have to be opening supplements. It happens. It's so cool. Yeah.
So sugars.
Okay, so as you are doing sourdough and it's fermenting, it pre-digests the sugar. And so it takes the glycemic index from like a 90% down to under 60%. So people who are diabetic, they can eat sourdough because it lowers it, and it also doesn't go into your bloodstream as quickly.
It becomes a very complex carbohydrate.
Right.
Yep, that's right. And the same thing happens with gluten. Gluten is like a chain if you see it under a microscope. When it's gone through the souring process, the bacteria break up the gluten chains. So all of the gluten intolerances that are now just
Prevalent everywhere.
everywhere. So many people who struggle with that can eat sourdough with no complications because the gluten is still there. You can't say it's gluten-free bread, but you can say it's gluten pre-digested bread, and those gluten chains are broken up and digestible.
Right. And you get the protein that's in the gluten. Gluten is a protein, so it's awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
So we all know that we need to take care of our gut health. We know that there's so many people that are struggling with their mental health, their emotional health. This is one way when we can, this is our second brain. So when we can heal this, it heals everything. So let's heal our families. Let's go back to what our great grandmas already knew and do sourdough again.
Yep. Healing your families one slice at a time.
Yeah.